What happens when you try and lose weight when you're in fat storage mode? Well, take a look at the last 30 years and you'll have a brilliant snapshot. You get fat. Yes, that's the unfortunate truth. And we're seeing it in every age group. We're really seeing it with kids. So what happens is these kids are in fat storage mode and their parents looking out for them and not wanting them to be fat for the future, they're restricting them and they're getting fatter over time because it's triggering a hormonal cascade and they're in growth mode that is affecting how their body is going to develop over a lifetime. It can really mess long-term with your weight regulating mechanism. We can't get rid of the fact that we have in our DNA a means of being in fat storage mode and fat burning mode. It's not one hormone. It's not one thing you can just take a pill for. One of the main determinants of staying in fat storage mode and why we're fat and how much fat we accumulate is a hormone called leptin. And there was all this excitement about it 10 years ago because they were doing things with the rats and, you know, when they manipulated their leptin, then the rats would go from being big fat rats to skinny rats. And this is what drives our research. So we were all really interested in leptin when we thought maybe we can make a leptin pill that can get people, that they can take a pill and not be fat. But the body doesn't work that way. We're not rats. Our body has lots and lots of insurance. This is real health insurance. Health insurance is what's in our DNA, this protective mechanisms. And if one doesn't work, then there's another one willing to jump in. Because overeating was not a problem for the last several million years on the planet Earth. We just don't have any ability to respond to this environmental change immediately like that. So what we need to understand right now is that if you're in fat storage mode, so all the hormones are turned on, the environment's turning you on, the things that you're seeing, the people that you're watching, the kind of food that you're eating has you in fat accumulating mode, and you don't eat, will you still accumulate fat? Well, not that much. Obviously, it will go down, and if you substantially reduce your calories, you're going to need some calories, so it's going to start chipping away at the fat. But if you've ever seen like one of those hoarder shows on TV, you'll understand that your fat stores, when they've been around, they're a lot like the hoarders on the television show, which means everyone goes in and they go, "Oh my God, look at this mess. There's clutter everywhere in magazines from all this time," and they go, "You got to get rid of this." And the hoarder goes, "Oh no, I know, I don't want to live like this anymore. I definitely want to clean up and have a beautiful house. This is a terrible way to live. Everyone, you know, my husband left me, my wife left me, my kids won't come visit, I can't see my grandchildren." So they all seem really willing not to be a hoarder anymore. But if you go in and you just start clearing out their house, they flip out, and as soon as people are gone, then they start reaccumulating at even a faster rate. So the first hoard might have taken them 10 years, but then as soon as you just take everything out without their permission, then they're able to accumulate that same amount in 10 months. This is what happens with our fat stores. You must get your hormonal balance right before you start clearing out the fat. Otherwise, the hoarders get kind of panicked. It really needs to be their decision. The fat cells have to start working the way fat cells are supposed to be. A fat cell is like a little person that has a big fat globule that they carry around on their back or in their arms, like a platter. And when you need fuel, then the fat store is supposed to walk up and go, "Here is your fuel," and hand over this platter of fuel. But what happens to the fat is if you start prying the fat away from the fat cells by restricting while you're still in fat storage mode, you start making that fat come off, then the fat becomes very frightened and it goes, no, I'm going to hold on to mine. There's other fat out there. You go to them. And all the other fat says the same thing. So what happens then? The brain goes, well, let's just get some more fat. Maybe the new fat cells will be willing to give their fat up. So the process is is designed to protect us, because in the environment, the problem, the biggest stress that the human race has ever faced over and over and over again is starvation. So we don't have just one way of avoiding starvation. We don't even have 10 ways. We have hundreds, probably thousands of ways that different hormones can kick in to make sure that we have an adequate fat store to get through an unpredictable time in the future. Your brain doesn't really understand dieting. Why would someone do that? It doesn't make sense. So we are going to do it. We are going to reset our weight regulating mechanism. I'm not saying that you need to be overweight and overfat and definitely not obese. This isn't a healthy situation because it's not really homeostasis. It's a homeostasis that started of being in fat accumulating mode, but it's inappropriate and it's stuck. So you're stuck hoarding the fat. And we need to get unstuck and reset the homeostasis back to here, not way up here in fat storage mode. But if you're going to continue to be in fat storage mode and your only strategy is to pry the weight off, then it's always going to keep coming back. And you're going to be constantly stimulated by your brain to want to eat. So you're going to have all this food preoccupation, which is just a miserable way to exist. And that's because you're in fat storage mode. So you can restrict and you can lose weight, but it's going to come back unless you get out of fat storage mode into fat releasing and fat burning. And you can't burn it with lighter, and you can't burn it on a treadmill, because that's just another way of losing weight when you're in fat storage mode. You have to move, you have to eat. We tend to think you need to diet and you need to exercise. Diet and exercise, as we usually think about them, are ways to lose weight. That's not a good strategy when you're in fat storage mode. The first thing we have to do is stop accumulating. Think of it like being in a boat that's taking on water. It's got a hole in it. You're bailing and you're continuing to try and get out of this situation. And when you go on a crash diet or an intense exercise program, it's like you're bailing with a bucket that's broken. So not only are you working really hard, all your hard work is really just sabotaging you anyway. We really need to get to what the problem is with the boat. So you need to be in fat releasing mode enough to get to begin to release weight, and then you will be able to reset your weight regulating mechanism. No food preoccupations, weight maintenance for a lifetime. That's where we want to be.